Okay, we'll resume the inquiry. This inquiry will be, it's like open, but we will focus purely on what our friend from editor from One Talk newspaper called mainstream media, press. We'll focus pure on press because as the committee chairman, we felt that we have challenges of new media coming in, social media, digital, AI, and all this. But if we don't have a strong foundation, which is the press or mainstream media, we will be overtaken from those new media. So we need to build a strong foundation in PNG for our press. Once that foundation is built on, then we can, those other media can come, but the foundation, we already have a foundation, a strong foundation, which already exists, but we need to support that foundation and make it strong, provide whatever services or whatever needs that mainstream media needs, we need to address them. So the focus this afternoon, based on our inquiries, you will help us, but based on our inquiry or some subject, we mentioned about the standard and integrity of journalism in Papua New Guinea. And on this afternoon session, I want to, as the committee wants to put forward two main subjects or two or three main points. One is the training of journalists. And two is development and sustainability of journalism. And if you, the panelists, if you come sit down, if you like, give me some more or some points going, walk him, strong him. This like we can do it, but also based on this two heading, we felt that if we under these two heading, there are many points to address. For example, training of journalists is the one UPNG, Unitech, we mentioned, all these institutions providing what should be learned, the cutoff grades, the choice, all these concerns that you have raised, which can be captured under training of journalists. And then we mentioned about development and sustainability of journalism, the field itself. So we talk about the fourth estate. That's why we want a lawyer to explain the fourth estate. We in a democracy we mention fourth estate. So fourth estate, is it by law or by common sense or by tradition? Why is it we saying media is the fourth estate of government? This sort of questions we try to ask, and our president of Media Council also meant about legislations and all these things, and access to information. So this can come under development and also welfare of journalists. This all can come under development and sustainability of journalism, the field itself. So please, I invite you all experienced journalists, journalists like Joseph Aladana, Mr. Corano, MD, John Nickins. And I think among our guests, we also have a very special guest too, among our audience, Kate Abel, who has been a journalist for pre-independence in PNG. Kate Abel, please can you stand up and that's it. Yeah. And she was a journalist pre-independence, and she actually worked for NBC too. And I think she should be honored we should honor her to take a seat at the panelist. Please come forward. We would need your contribution. So thank you she saw the advert and she was really interested, and you joined us for 2 days. This will be your third day. Oh, so she was with us all this time. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we also have Joseph, Mr. Joseph Eladona. Mr. Joseph Eladona. He's current CEO EO our minister, good minister. But based on his experience as MD for former MD for NBC, and also been in the field for so long, in the journalism field for so long, so he can take the seat too. Please fight him on long him. And we have Mr. Corano, the current MD for NBC. Please take the seat. And we have our TV. You please take the seat. No, you have to come and take the seat. Mr. Higgins is a very, very senior veteran TV panelist, and I've been lilig mangyat mi watch the TV go and please take the seat. And we have UPNG. Anybody from UPNG? Emily, both of you, please come take the seat. You can see. Napla seat lo baksa tu, but me pull up into it. Come take the seat. And Diwain Wood, please. Diwain Wood and UPNG. Our friends from Diwain Wood, lecturers from Diwain Wood, and our university UPNG. You all take the front seat. And our dearest here. Okay, please, dearest to take the seat. You plus somehow you plus make you put some extra say, or you can sit at the back table too. Am I right? Put in one mic to lo baksa too. Okay, we have Mr. Peter or National Newspaper Tupla Gopeka. Tupla Gopeka. All Gopenisa, National. Christine Peter Tupla Gopenis. Okay, ada all journalists, please, you look at take him. Gregory, Media Council. Belinda, please, sit down. Belinda, Cora, you big line of media, please sit down. Media no got press. Now nubla name press. So media. Gregory, please. Okay. Otherwise, you can still contribute from the audience too. We have several mics. So discussion, it's like open discussion. So it will be also structured. It's not a structured discussion. It's an open. Me no planning to having this discussion, but based on the hearings asked on Tuesday and Wednesday, we decided we should have that discussion. And please note that it is not a final discussion. We will still, it's like a preliminary discussion. We will still continue the discussion until we come up with a very good proposal to bring forward. So I don't know where to start, but I will start. I will start with training of journalists. And there are a couple of points. Okay, let me explain the subject, how I see it. Two subject. Our main topic of inquiry is inquiry into the standard and integrity of journalism in Papua New Guinea. So this afternoon I'm breaking them down into two parts. Part one is the training of journalists. Okay. Part two is the development and sustainability of journalism, which journalism in this case we refer to those who practice in the press. Those who practice in the press. So when I say journalists, it's those who practice in the press. Journalism is those in the press. So let's build our foundation on the press. When I say press, I mean mainstream media. Press nubla talk game, but mainstream media. You know, nubla I think it's a practice, but we call it press, which is the mainstream media. So when we say journalist, we refer to those who practice in the press. We say journalism, we refer to the press itself. So let us build a strong, or let's develop the foundation of the press before we can go to new media, digital media and all this, or social media, all this. So that's the thought that we committee feel that we reach the conclusions that let's do that first. So that's why that special session this afternoon is to discuss on that. So in terms of training for journalists, it will be, now it goes to UPNG and Divine Ward. Your contribution will be valuable, and also from the experience of the newsroom, that the journalists that come to the newsroom, from the university to the newsroom, what sort of training they lack, what sort of skills needs to be developed, what sort of curriculum, do they need to have a certificate of their own, the resource that they have in each institution, do we have to have a separate school or some sort for, just like a worker, for journalists, build a journalist. Okay, for journalism, development and sustainability of journalism is the code itself, the profession, the code itself. We talk about access to information. That's development and sustainability of journalism, which is the fourth estate. So in order for fourth estate to be, to become the real fourth estate, it need to have access to information. So it's a process to reach. And then we talk about some other, like legislation, like what's his name? The president mentioned, to protect the independence of the newsroom from within the organization and external organization. The newsroom should be independent from whether within the organization itself and from politics or government outside or business outside. So that's part of development and sustainability of journalism. And all these things are, so me categorizing awesome, but if you think that this category is not, you want us to create new categories, so kind of same, we can always talk now. You can improve legislation. Am I right? Okay, Deputy Chair, you would like to add something before we start? Okay, so this is an open session, so we can talk now. Online recording or can classify Muslim now, you can work. And we are thankful that the rest you are here, because it is important for both for training and development of training for journalists and development for journalism, and then sustainability. How should we get funding? I'll start with the subject. I'll start with the training for journalists. So we learned that based on the inquiry, we have learned that students coming out from grade 12 into university, we are facing issues with grammar, language literacy, especially in English, because journalism is based on English. So how are we gonna improve that process? I'll start the discussion. We can start this discussion, and we can continue the discussion. So the floor is open. I think first choice give it to Divine Word and UPNG to start, and then we can welcome. Sorry, one plug am na help mo move a mic, please. No, mic move finish but. You seen it, Thomas? You sit down na. I'm finished. Any junior journalist willing to move the mic around,
Okay, thank you, Chairman, member of committee. I'll start with Divine Word, and I'm pleased that we're touching on the training, because training is really important. And I, as someone who came from the field, I started out in the 80s and worked with word publishing, One Talk newspaper, the Times newspaper. And then I moved to Post-Korea and worked there up until 2000. And then I went back, and I've been in the field of training up until now, since then. So I've seen a lot of things because I come from a practical background. And I'll just talk briefly and as brief as I can. Firstly, journalism, there's always been issue about whether it's supposed to be a university course or to be taught at a university level, or it should be just a vocational technical training that's supposed to be taught, because journalism is very practical. It's a practical subject. It involves writing, and writing is practical. You either can write or you cannot write. And the way you can write is if you keep writing, you will write. So it's a practical thing. And so those are some of the basic things that when I went back to Divine Word, I was in the institute and it was changing to university. I noticed that there's this big difference. In the institute days, we had 2 years, a diploma course. It was completely journalism. And you started in year 1, you have to write, you publish, and by the time you finish in year 2, you are ready to go into a newsroom and work. You had all the skills. Because it was a practical course, we started at 8 o'clock and finished at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And the training was intense. And even at UPNG, when they were introducing the course in the 70s, they struggled over this, whether it should be at a university or it should be at a vocational technical training institute, because it has to be practical, and you have to give time to it, a lot of time. And the difference between what I see between the institute days and the university is exactly that. At the university level, the teaching is different. We only take 4 subjects, or units we call them at Divine Word, per semester. And you have a lot of free time. Like, it seems to you have a lot of free time. And there's no emphasis on training exercises. You have to do them over, writing over, go cover a story, come back. There's no emphasis on that. So we struggle as lecturers to enforce deadlines. We can't teach like you would teach in a newsroom, because the universities are organized differently. You're allowed to leave the student free to, think and be critical and to do things. And so we struggle with that. As I speak at the university, we struggle with that. As a HOD of the Communication Arts Journalism Training, I'm stating this. And so already we have issues training the student to the level that they should be ready before they come to the newsrooms. Unlike the institute days, when I, as a product of the institute, walked out, I could edit a newspaper. I could sub-edit a newspaper. I could sit down, I could produce it, I could design it, and I could produce it. We struggle with that now. Even in the 4 years, we can't do it, and yet in the 2 years in the diploma, we could do it. And so there's a big difference there. So when people are critical with us at the training institutions, it's hard for us to explain this. Unless you've been through it, you will not know it. And people like John Higgins and others, they would understand this because they came through that process. And so what happened was that the early times, NBC, Post Korea, those newspapers that existed, had cadet training schemes because they had to cater for this. So if you came off the street, you could still become a journalist because there was a cadet training scheme in the newsroom. Now, I came off the institute, I came to NBC, I had a cadet trainer. And he took me under his wings and would not let me work in a newsroom until he was satisfied. And then that's how I was trained. And so when he let me go, I was capable of doing everything. The other thing to understand about journalists is that we are supposed to know everything. Journalists, they know everything, but they are good at nothing. They are not specialists at anything. but they're just supposed to know everything. And so I tell my students this, because you need to cover a wide range of areas: business, law, science, medical, and you just need to understand a lot of things to be able to do your work. So I know UPNG has a different system. They try to get students to specialize in a certain field to a system, which is a good, and many journalism training schools do that, which is a good thing. So the point I want to make is that when students come to us, they come through the online selection system. We don't have any control over this anymore. We used to select the students ourselves, but now the government decided that the online system will select the students. So through the DHS system, and it's a good system because it stops any biases. So you don't have to want to because kind of sama. But the problem with that is that the students now put choices. So they may want to do law, or they may want to do medicine, if not law, if not something, and down the fifth choice they might put journalism. And they may get in because of that to journalism. So that student doesn't want to be a journalist, but he's in a university because that's the fifth choice, or maybe it wasn't even a choice. They go into a pool, and because our numbers are low, we go back to the pool and we have to select from the pool. So this is what's going on now in the university system. So we get a mixed bag. And I can tell you, right now, if I go to a classroom with 24 students, there may be nobody in there who wants to be a journalist. But they're taking the course and I have to teach them. And how do you make them enthusiastic? How do you create the passion in them? That's the struggle. So one thing we've been doing at Divine Word, or we started doing, is to bring in senior journalists working in the field to come and talk to our students to inspire them. This is a noble profession. You can make a living out of. Maybe you won't get paid as much as a lawyer. So we try to do that on the other side, because the student is sitting there in the class. What can you do? You can't say, oh no, we won't accept you, because the government has selected the student for you to teach. And so that's what's going on in the universities. So my solution to this, and I'm going to end now and pass it on, is that if we train, we will only train to a certain extent, because we follow the university system calendar of semesters of 4 units only, and we can't, we can only, currently, like for instance, they get 4 units, that's 3 hours a day, 12 hours in a week. That's all they get in a class time. And if we want to increase that, we have to justify, because this is university training. And what can you do with 12 hours in a week? And this is part of the problem we are facing. So I've been arguing with our dean of the academic that we should increase the hours, because they're not going to learn anything if they have less hours in training. So those are the things that they're facing. But it sounds like an excuse, but I'm saying that once they finish from the university, I think the newsrooms must have a cadet training program to specifically train them into the culture of the newsroom. I call it a culture, because once they get in there, they have to know that deadlines are important, because we can't stress deadlines at the university the way we teach. Once they get into the newsroom, deadlines are important. They have to work to deadlines. They have to know like Parliament, the system, how does it work? They have to get out there and learn those things. They have to get into the courtrooms. They have to know. And I teach court reporting. I've covered courts, and I'm happy with it, but I can't teach everything. But they have to get them familiar with the system first, how the cultures of the newsroom work, what is expected of them, the deadlines and the things that they need to do. And only after that, they should let them off as full-time journalists to work. Because at the moment, the system at the university we will not give you the finished products you want, the newsrooms, because it's set like that, and we are struggling with it at the university level. So that's my little contribution. I'll let my friends from UPNG speak.
Thank you. Very, very, very good, important contribution.
Yeah.
We're coming with solutions now.
Thank you, Chairman. I think our discussion out there was, was very handy coming into this room. But Chairman, can I just probably can I just probably say that the journalists in PNG also comprise of people who learn the trade on the job, and not just coming in from the training, the institutions. So, with that, having said that, and with that kind of background, yes, a few years ago, I think in the mid 2000s, I also had in the corridors of UPNG about relegating the journalism program to a vocational program. And I think because, mainly because, like what Patrick said, it is a program that enhances skills, teaches skills, a lot of skills. And so, there was talk about, downgrading the program to vocational. But somehow we survived. I think we survived. We survived because we were able to get the numbers. The enrollments coming in every year. And in my experience there, it seemed every year the enrollments were getting, they were increasing. And so I was lucky. I did my training, education at in 1987, where they introduced, please correct me if I'm wrong, Cora and Joseph, but there was the Media Studies program, which was a 2-year program, a diploma program, and they just introduced the degree program in 1987 when I went to study there. So when I went to study there, the first year we did we had the Arts Foundation. But even before I got to Arts Foundation, in National High, I had to select the program that I wanted. So I selected journalism. So I went to the university, but in year 1 we did the foundation program, which introduced us to all disciplines. And then based on that, the university said, okay, so for example, for me, I did very well in sociology courses. So I minored in sociology and also studied journalism as my major. And at that time, we had a good newsroom. We had a good newsroom and expatriate lecturers there who taught us real, in the newsroom kind of training. And so, I was coming from that era, and after so many years going back to teach there, I was dismayed at the facilities when I went to teach there. I think the year before I went there, the broadcast studio just shut down. Yeah, radio studio, it shut down. And so we were left with nothing but just lecture halls, empty lecture halls, which we had to teach students in. And so, but another timeline that I can think of was before, I think before 2015 or 16, somewhere there, the Strand was heavily involved with the selection process. So we would sit in a room and go through students' applications and say, okay, this looks good, we'll take you on. This doesn't look good, we'll, push you somewhere. But along the way, that responsibility was taken away from us. And I think it was at about that time that we started noticing that, like what Patrick said, what we expected, students coming to study at the university should have a certain comprehension of English. We found that it was, missing, and we so a lot of students coming in to take journalism, but they were not interested. And so how do we teach students like that? And, just how do we do that? And we also had the practical, in my time, the practical program was one semester that was held within the semester. Okay, so that was a good experience for the students, because at the time the university would pay for the fares for the students to go to, whichever newsroom that they wanted to go to, and work there. So I had the privilege of going to Medang to do my practical in Medang. There, so, but that does not happen anymore. Now we pushed that the practical to the end of the year. The end of the year where business activity and all other activity are winding down, and so our students are pushed into the newsrooms to do their practical. And so much of the time they come back and they tell us that we did this, we were able to do that, but they were able to do that because in many of the newsrooms the supervisors were always on top of them. So that was good. But on the flip side of it, when it came to assessing the students, it was our holidays, and we were not there. So we would get the reports. The reports are good. Until just recently, we have to, for the news practice now, like in my time, it was 100% news practice. I would get all my marks from the training. But now the system at university has changed. They said, okay, we want 60% to come from your internal marks, which means we have to give them some theory to work on, and only 40%. So you see, the students will not be able to what will I say, to put 100% to an assessment that is only 40%. Okay, so we're struggling to tell our administrators that this is a practical-based course. The students need to have hands-on practice out there in the field. But at the same time, we also understand that it's the university. We need to balance that. Like I said the other day, vocational training and academia. Okay. Also, we are also finding, I think it is a university-wide problem, with students with critical thinking skills. So if you don't have students who are critical thinkers, how do you expect them to go and ask those questions, those serious questions that demand answers? Okay, so I can't place the blame on education department or the university, but I think we should all take responsibility. Okay, we have an issue now. Let's all take responsibility and start correcting those issues. So the Media Council has been very supportive towards the UPNG, as well as the ABC MDI, which I have to acknowledge them, for a lot of things, for training and for providing equipment, where should I say, is supposed to be the responsibility of the university. Okay, so yeah, so I want to come to this table. I want to come to this table agreeing that we should all work together. And from our last meeting 12 months ago, we have already started at the university, started the process of improving our program. So, that's a good thing. There's one little step in the right direction, but we need support. And like I said the other time, if DS, if you're listening, the program review is a project between, I think, all the tertiary institutions and DHEST. So we're working on their timetable. And so But we already, into trying to improve our processes at the university. The other thing I've noticed over the years is when we, in terms of capacity building, we send out put out notices for positions vacant, and the university's qualification system is a bit, high. It will get it will accept applicants who have a master's degree. Yeah, master's and above. Okay, there are lots of very good journalists in the country. They have a first degree. So, probably that's another area that we can look at. How do we get these existing journalists, very good journalists, to help them, to get them to the master's level, for them to now, probably start imparting what they, the newsroom experiences, now combining it with academia. So, I think it's all of us, our responsibility. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Good, very good contribution. Your program, you say you review the program. That's the journalism program at UPNC?
Actually, the whole of the university.
Whole university?
Yes.
You're reviewing the...
Yes, because many of the programs are about, 40 to 50 years old, and times have changed. And we can, what we can do each year is we can just improve a little bit of, onto the program, bring in new knowledge.
What is the program called? Journalism.
Journalism and public relations.
Journalism and public relations. So that review is going on.
Yes.
Who's taking carriage of that review?
The university with DHEST.
So DHEST is coordinating that.
That's right. We have to, I think, conform to their national qualification framework. National qualifications framework.
Okay, so review of journalism and public relations.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
the same with
It's
all the
university.
Yeah.
It's same with you guys.
Our program is currently under review, and that's why when we presented, we talked about the new units in the digital and era. We are bringing those in now because we need to upgrade, and also we're looking at other aspects because, and I just mentioned this quickly. Training and work experience is very important for and it's a government requirement, it's a DS requirement that our students get some practical experience, and it's across all programs. The issue with us is being in Medang, we don't have access to media organizations immediately for all the students. They can't. Only NBC is there, really. And I think the TV1, I think they have a person there. But so our challenge is how do we get students to have practical experience, because it's not funded. So the student has to find their own, come fly to Mosby, find a Wantok, stay with them, do their practical experience. So those are realities that affect our training. So at the one we were thinking of doing another thing, going around the issue. So we've decided to create a news page on our website. And then when the students are studying, they can also do the practical by covering stories that happen in Medang. And then we lecturers will edit the story and act like a newsroom process. And then they get to publish on the website, our website, and all the 4 years, and they fulfill the requirements of the workplace experience. So that's in our new review, the program that we're reviewing now.
That journalists and journalism and public relations.
Our program is called Communication Arts Program, bracket journalism. Yeah.
Okay. So same thing, but it's different, called differently in different universities.
It's different.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You want to contribute something?
Yeah, just to add on to what Ms. Emily said, one of the things that is affecting the quality of graduate output is also the number of students that we teach. You will find that our quota for first years, normally it's about 40. But then these are majors only. We have a system where you have major and minor. So we have 40 that are major, 40 students, but then we have our minors. Our minors, normally it's triple. So if it's going to be triple, you're looking at about 80 plus, 100 plus. For example, if you're teaching the first year a mass communication course, you're teaching about 200 to 300 students. And now it's an issue of quality, because how can you be able to assess them properly? That's why for most of us academics, we don't sleep properly. And also we cannot do things that we're supposed to be doing. For example, if you give them assessments like news writing, you want to mark them properly, but you're going to mark 80 or 100 plus stories. That's only one assessment or one story. And if you're going to give them 4 stories as assessment for the semester, that's way too many. You don't have the time, unless you are a superman or superwoman to do that. Yeah. So that's something that that is something that we can't control, because, you know, we're trying to help the government to, as much as possible, get a lot of students into the university. But again, like that was mentioned, most of the students that enroll for our programs, they really don't want to do journalism. The beginning of the semester, you see a full class. Towards the middle of the semester, classrooms begin to be empty. The lecture empty. Because most of them, they don't want to study journalism. Because our program is journalism and public relations. You ask students, that's another thing. You ask students, what do you want to do after you graduate from here? All of them, they will say that we want to do public relations. Why? Because they heard from their friends, to be a journalist, you work in plenty work, no actually money. So you get better paid if you go into the public relations space. So those are other things that is. So most of our, I would say, most of our very good students who can make very good journalists, they don't end up at the newsrooms or the mainstream. They end up in the public relations space. So those are some of the realities that we are faced with in UPNG. And I think that's the same also in the wine world.
Thank you. Before you give to Mr. No Akora, please give it to Direst first, Bakside. Yeah, 1 plus stop number. Okay, please, you story long. Please, can you introduce yourself and then confirm that you guys are doing the review for that public journalism and public relations program in these universities? And what's the status? When do you expect to finish and all this?
Thank you. Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Communication, Chairman and Member for Wawaria, Deputy Chairman and Member for Gulala as well. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. On behalf of my Minister, Mr. for Education, Research, Science and Technology, Honorable Kino Kafeo, and also my Acting Secretary, Mr. Loni Baki, we're honored to be here as well. Thank you. And having heard from UPNG as well, I totally agree with her. It's a holistic approach that we all have to work together. DHEST as the regulator, the universities as well as the training providers, the employers as well, and students themselves as well. Okay, going back to the higher education, we more or less regulate and facilitate development in the higher education space. That's more or less post-secondary, grade 12. After grade 12, more or less they come into education, higher education as well. The higher education institutional types, they include universities, teachers college, business and tech, nursing, and private and specialized. With journalism alone, from our record, more or less Divine Word and UPNG, more or less they offer those programs as well. With the reviews, I can confirm that there was an external audit being done by more or less panel of experts or more or less resource people. And I think the reports were more or less given to the department, and the department more or less presented to the respective universities, Divine Word and UPNG. Yes. From what I know, UPNG is more or less as through the Vice Chancellor has prepared a implementation plan to address some of those issues. That's one. Some of the services that the higher education more or less supporting journalism, we more or less provide the government scholarship thesis, one. Two, more or less the higher education loan program, Help for Short. Three, also infrastructure development or capital investment program. And having had from UPNG and Divine Word, the national online selection and the national online application system as well. In terms of quality assurance, we have the institutional registration and program accreditation as well. And under the Papua New Guinea National Qualification Framework as well, to register an institution, they will have to satisfy all those standards within before you offer any program or if you register any institution as well. Let me be clear that for universities, more or less, they are self-accrediting body. They more or less create their own programs and register their own programs. We, the department, more or less regulate and support through the government scholarship and also the higher education loan as well. So these are basically some of the background to what the department does. Thank you.
While you still have the mic, that's good. While you still have the mic, there's some issues raised about selection of students to the respective stream of
Yes.
strengths. So you have any response to that?
Okay, thank you. We have the National Online Application System, NOS for short, and National Online Selection System. With the selection part of it, the National Online Selection System, more or less the institution, they more or less put in the entry requirement. We do not deal with that. The institution, it's the system itself. Unlike before where we more or less take 2 to 3 weeks to do the selection manually, and it's more or less resource consuming. It takes about more than almost 10 to 18 million to more or less carry out this process, but now it's been streamlined. So it's done online. And unlike before where we have only 2 choices, now we have 5 choices. The student can more or less make those choices. But I think one thing that I must flag as well is I mentioned National Department of Education. The output is our input. We only facilitate. We do not, what comes out of Education Department, which I will not comment on their behalf, it goes into our system. We don't train, we only regulate. And the institution can confirm themselves, and I think you heard from them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to you to UPNG and Divine Word. So you guys are working on the review of the journalism and public relations program at the university. What help do you need to complete that process or bring it quickly, or do you need help at all?
For Divine Word, we actually, it's an internal method that we review the program, and we only have to meet the standards that they set. And so we are going through that process, and we hopefully will complete it this year. We're looking forward, but it started in 2023. And we've been going through it, so reviewing and writing new units and then getting it approved. But as long as it meets the standards, and we get it approved. And then because there'll be an audit after that anyway, so they will we will always be answerable to them. Yeah, so that's the process that we are going through, and so it's an internal matter, and we will manage it. Yeah, thank you.
For us at UPNG, because it's a university program, like similar to the One World, I'm not sure how the mainstream media or the media in general can be able to contribute to our reviewing of the program, and that is something that probably we can also further discuss on. Probably one thing that I can see, like based on my presentation on when was that, Tuesday? Yeah, maybe one thing that we can be able to do is, like I said, we really need our stakeholders, particularly Media Council. If you can be able to really identify to us and identify, it has to be research based on data. Because programs in universities, it's not developed based on novelty. It's based on data that needs out there. And that's where one stakeholder that I see can play a big role in that would be the Media Council. If we can be able to have a system in place where and I continue to talk to Neville about that, if we can, the Media Council can have a regular conduct of a TNA, training needs analysis, with consultations with the mainstream media. So these TNA data can be able to help us to influence how we design our courses. That's probably one of the things that we can really depend on from our stakeholders. I'm not sure. I think Ms. Emily can be able to add more on that.
Otherwise, I think that's an important point to make. Training needs TNA, training needs analysis. That is something that you need from the industry. Industry, okay. So Media Council can be the one that tasked to facilitate that. Okay. So that's something. That's one way of them coming in. Gregory is not here. Oh. You want to contribute?
Maybe I can just add, because we went through that process. In 2023, we were funded by ABC to come, and we met with the industries, the reps in Mosby, and then we went through this process. We also did an online survey, and we interviewed all our graduates, our watch in the field, about the needs. What are the needs of the industry? Where should we focus our training? And based on that, we are reviewing our PSTS, and hopefully it will be completed by. Yeah, so we've done that amongst us, but we took the initiative and we asked for assistance from the Media Council, and they got ABC to assist us on that. So we appreciate that.
Good. UPNC will work together with the Media Council. I think Gregory is out, so. Oh, Belinda is out. Belinda is part of Media Council.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Yes, just continuing from what, Patrick Matpop had mentioned, we did have a meeting with the university heads and, of course, with all the editors, most of our editors. What is ongoing right now, and I should say that I understand that we need definite analysis. Whatever the council presents to our universities in terms of training is directly from the editors. The editors make up the council. So whatever the editors of all our newsrooms and our members raise with the executives is what is raised towards the institutions and training. We may not have the capacity as yet to do an analysis or a survey, but we were able to do that, as Mr. Matpop said, with the help of ABCID, and we were able to identify
What is ongoing right now, and I should say, with the council and the universities, is that we are able to have editors go in as guest lecturers at UPNG, and of course, when we have the chance to travel to Medang, we have that also with Divine Word University, where we are speaking with second years, third years, fourth years. I must add on that yes, what both the institutions have mentioned, the lack of motivation is very evident because I have been a guest lecturer myself at these universities. Another thing is that the council is also awaiting, especially UPNG, to actually tell us when they want us to schedule a sit down in relation to their review. We have been able to get that communication with Divine Word. And so that's the status we're at. We may not be able to have that on pen and paper, an agreement, but we have been doing it practically by being in touch with both universities every month, especially in relation to what they need from the council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At least I think there's a communication, re-established communication, TNA, training needs analysis. That is what you need from UPNG to complete your program review. Okay, we the committee take note of, because training is an important part of this inquiry based on all the discussions. Online, everyone raised this issue of training. So now, Divine Word University, you the guys that train the journalists. So time all this issue, also you raise them up, the committee take note, and we will get an update from you whether you guys are doing the TNA and what's happening and all this. That's all right, huh? Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the MD for NBC.
Thank you, Chairman.
Still on the subject of training.
And thank you to the committee for what can be seemingly to others mundane thing, but thank you for taking the cause of our journalists across the country. We can talk about press freedom and all this, but we don't get to the root of some of these issues, we will still be stuck where we are. So I think I speak for the rest of my colleagues here in commending the committee for going through with this process. UPNG and Divine Word, I speak more on the other side of the fence where I get, and I speak for NBC, they can confirm or deny. We get the bulk of the trainees that come on like towards the end of the year. I agree, 6 weeks is not enough to get some decent training going at the newsroom, but that's what they're stuck with, that's what they give us, that's what we take. And after time, it's more like go through starting of a training on the job. So I take note of what's been expressed here, and I thank them for doubling up to tell us that a review has been ongoing. And I spoke with some of the colleagues before the session that we'd love to be given an updated an update of what's going on, because we get some of those students coming through. So we'd love to know what's going to happen with the curriculum that you're going to now offer at the universities. And I take from Patrick's issue about the cadetship, one thing, and giving access to giving the newsroom access to the students a bit earlier than the 4 years. So I hope that's been taken into consideration in your reviews as well. So it's no good getting the students to go for the 4 years and then you ask us then to. So for me, 4 years will be a long time to get the students to the newsroom and expect us to teach them newer tricks as well. So if we can narrow it down, and I take note of what Emilio was saying about the media studies that were done earlier during our time. We had two intakes running concurrently in a semester or 2 semesters, where some were taking media studies, the rest of us were taking the bachelor course. But we were all doing similar. So it's just that The first lot graduated a bit earlier with a diploma, went to the newsrooms and started working. The rest of us continued for the 4 years. So those are some of the issues. Sorry, I may be late in the review thing, but because we take up most of the students, we'd love to know about what you have. And I think, I speak only for NBC, we have capacity to absorb some of your issues as well. So, and that goes to facilities at the universities. We've offered, Emily knows, we've offered our help to UPNG, and it's taken quite a while for them to agree on who to give the authority to sign on an MOU. They will assist them with the multimedia studio that we've been proposing to them for quite a while. And I told Emily, I don't get it this year, I'll give it to Divine.
I completely forgot about that. Good that you raised it up.
So, yeah, I think one good thing that will come out of this committee deliberations is that we can get a lot more of our senior staff to talk to each other and help the industry. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Maybe Emily, would you be able to answer?
Thank you, NBC MD. The issue of the MOU now rests with the council, our council. Yeah, University Council.
UPNG Council, huh?
Yes.
So what do they, or why not waste the time?
I don't know, that's a good question. But the last we heard was like a fortnight ago that our MOU is still floating somewhere around the corridors of our council.
So who's council is Vice Chancellor?
Vice Chancellor.
Okay.
Chancellor. So probably you could talk to your
Yes,
girlfriend.
definitely we'll talk to the Chancellor.
Yes.
Why is taking up? Because I went and saw the studio. It needs help and went and talked to NBC to help. So NBC is trying to help, and why you guys not accepting the help? So anyway, thank you that you raised it. The committee take note of it, and we'll follow up with the University Council.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Deborah, you want to say something before we go to Kate? You came all the way from meeting, so please.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind
The
of
senior, the HOD can say, but you are the one on the ground, so.
I'm actually the one reviewing the units.
Okay.
And I'm the one writing the units and putting them together and updating them. I mean, apart from others, I'm one of them. The challenge also, I'd like to refer back to what UPNG was saying, our friend there, in terms of research. We need research in Papua New Guinea. We need evidence. We need something to put together our programs. We can't, excuse me, we can't structure our programs or our course from an Australian context, from an American context. We're not BBC, we're not CNN. The way they report in their country is different from our cultural context. So we need research, and we need a lot of that in our country, but we don't have that. And another thing, we want good journalists, but who's going to teach them? Have we asked ourselves that question? Who's going to teach these people? Everybody wants to get into the industry. You look at Mr. Mudbob. He's been teaching communication arts like forever. All of us sitting here are his students, right? And I guess the same goes with the lecturers at UPNG. So how do we encourage people to actually take up a career or a profession in academia is also another challenge. And I guess it's not just about training, but sustainability. Yeah. Training and sustainability. Like, we need people to keep training other people. And so, yeah, that's also a challenge for me. That's my point of view. We need more people in academia. And jobs in academia requires people with master's degree and PhDs. How many? We just advertised a position for a PhD person, somebody who's an expert in research. How many of us here have a PhD? It's ridiculous. So, unfortunately, we also have to, increase the standard and the qualification within communications and media. And it's something that we have to look at it from the media and communications perspective. If we all get into the industry as journalists, as public relations officers, if we all get out there and do propaganda, who's going to do the teaching? And I think that's my biggest fear, and that's my biggest concern. Yeah, thank you.
Very important point. Give a big laugh. Very important point. Wow. Many challenges, huh? And this is a big one. We want to train journalists, but who's able anymore? Where are the lecturers? So this is a great concern. And I think a good concern you also raised, and it supported your Mark's concern, is research-based data. And we'll throw it back to Media Council. We'll have to work on that to give them the research-based data. The survey will be good, so we can focus on. Belinda and your team, please. That's maybe from the editors, they can give, but it would be good to conduct an independent survey to come up with a needs-based, so you can provide them, because they're academic, they're based on data. So good research will really help them to develop the program. We'll track you on that one too. We'll take note of that and track you on that one too. You want to say something? So the rest, we are tracking you on implementation plan. So when I say tracking, means the next inquiry you come, we'll ask you on that. So, okay, continue.
Okay, much of our discussions this afternoon have centered around undergraduate training. I kind of want to suggest professional training as well for journalists who are currently practicing. Okay, I mentioned on Tuesday about a School of Business program they have, which is was developed by the finance department to meet the practice. Yeah. So for finance officers. So they bring them from all around Papua New Guinea. So it would be I'm just saying be good to develop a professional program, and probably again could work closely with Media Council and see if they could support this program. But a 2-year program for our professional journalists. I know a lot of them have got their first degrees. Why can't we elevate them to an MA? So we can have a specialized program for those group of journalists. And in that way, we could build the capacity, not just for training within the institution, but in their newsrooms as well.
So that can give them masters? Yes,
they can attain their masters through that kind of professional training.
So UPNG does not have that program, or
no?
You want us to develop that program?
Okay, we have an undergraduate program that's for school leavers and non-school leavers. We also have a program for professional studies, but they're coming in to get their first degree.
Okay.
But we want a program for MA, for masters, postgraduate, because there are lots of journalists here who have a first degree.
Yes.
So why don't we create something that can meet that need?
I'm asking, well, can you answer the question?
It can be done, but I think we have to.
Can it be part of the review?
Yeah, I think it should.
It should.
Because that's one way of improving.
That's one way of.
Probably what Emily is trying to emphasize on is if we can have stakeholders to be able to sponsor that program, because our issue is developing a program. It's okay, but we require money to establish the program. So
that's why I'm saying, do you need any support in that NBC there, Post-Korea National Media Council?
Yeah. And I've also come across a master's program from UNESCO. It was funded by, I think, UNESCO. Yeah. It's a master's in journalism, but for non-journalists. And those are some of the approaches that we can look at.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we can look at. Because now we're talking about technology, and we have citizen journalists. How do we pull them into an education system where we can properly train them, basically focusing on the ethics and conducts. And that is something that is missing. Yeah. So those are some of the innovative approach that we can look at in our area of training. Yeah.
Okay, good. Can we agree that you can make it part of the review, and to sponsor the program, we can work with the industry to sponsor the program?
Yes.
Can we agree that industry, we can bring the industry media council, we can work with the donor partners, the rest to sponsor the program. But if you can work on the develop the program. Huh?
Professional development,
Yep.
masters in professional development.
Yes.
So it will be basically aimed at the working journalists.
Yeah, working journalists, those like Belinda and Belinda, you have masters already? Okay, so like Belinda and others who are currently working but need masters to go and teach again. Okay, very good. Oh, at least we'll track you on this one too. Developing. Okay, I think Kate, you would like to contribute to the training of journalism. You've been here, so but.
Thank you, Chairman and Deputy Chairman. I'm very surprised to find myself here at this table as a tourist here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of independence. And I'm reminded of the then Chief Minister Michael Somare in 1974 or so, criticising what he called two-day journalists from overseas who would fly in with some preconceived ideas, have a quick look around and then go away and give their opinion about what was happening in Papua New Guinea. I'm here for 2 months, but I'm still very wary of making comments, and I'm not qualified to talk about the things you're talking about now, the content, the processes and so forth. But there is a point I'd like to pick up on that John Eggins made, which I think I am qualified to talk about as somebody who did work here as a journalist, to my great fortune, 1973 to 1975. 1975, which was an incredibly interesting time. And I thought about it when John Eggins talked this afternoon, I think, about people not trying, journalists, especially in the electronic media, but this applies not only, try to impress people by talking in fast and fancy English. And he said, you know, what you're trying to do is to communicate effectively. And when he was talking about the speed, he said, don't talk too fast, but don't insult intelligence by talking too slow. I don't know if many people here would be old enough to remember that around the time I was at NBC, 1974, and probably for a few years afterwards, there was a 10-minute news bulletin every night called the Simple English News. And it was a roundup of the day's international and national local news. And it was written in what we would call in New Zealand plain English. It was written so it was understandable to people who didn't have a huge amount of English, but it didn't talk down to them. And it was written so it could be translated into Tokpisin and into Motu. So it wasn't just that it didn't have big words, it also carefully looked at the concepts being talked about and explained them clearly. And at the time I thought, this is really interesting. I had to really think through a lot of things when I was working on this bulletin and really think through, how do I explain this clearly? At the time there were things happening internationally that were very interesting, like the French atomic bomb and the Pacific and President Nixon being about to be impeached. But one of the big things going on, of course, at that time was the constitutional planning. And I had to talk about things like citizenship and democracy, and how do you accurately, but in plain English, explain what these things are. So I thought at the time, this is really interesting. I don't know if it'll be useful anywhere else, but it's quite an interesting exercise. Well, I have found that in the 50 years since then, I've been incredibly grateful for that experience, because not only in journalism, but in all sorts of other work I've gone into, it's really handy to learn how to use English plainly and clearly. And I agree with John Eggins, that's a really important part of the training for journalists and of the English ability for journalists. It's not knowing how to use big words. It's about knowing how to communicate effectively and plainly in English. And, well, for myself, it's been a great skill, and I do believe that it is something to consider in training as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Joseph, you have anything to contribute? But you'll contribute. Let me give the direction to contribute. All right. Just learn one fine subject on this one before we go to the next subject. Cadet program. Cadet program. I think some of you been through the cadet program, and how do we get it into the newsroom? Is it media council? Are you? Is there something that you are discussing with your members? And should it be part of the policy? Can you give mic to? You want to contribute too? Yeah, you want to get it. But okay, you can contribute. What you learned from the cadet, and then.
I was wanting to ask John to say it, but I'm looking around, and I think I'm one of the few last people who went through the NBC cadet system. I think it's a 2-year cadet system, and she's here, so she reminded me of some of us standing out in the sun. We are called out by our ABC trainers to say those simple things like seesaw, seashells on the seesaw, and those things, the SHS, and all these sort of things. So it helped us as broadcasters to speak good English. I think Papuans, we write very good English. Speaking is our issue. So that was our cadetship. But I must say that, and I really think that I've been talking with and our Divine Word people outside. I think cadetship is one of the ways to go. Divine Word has said about them in Medeng and all the newsrooms here. I think those here in Port Moresby can come together with Media Council to come to some agreement for cadetship. If some of us, I don't have a master's, so if we can go into the university to teach, then the students can come out and learn from us working journalists at the actual newsroom, and learn those deadlines and feel the fear of when you write, your story will be thrown in the rubbish bin and told to come and write properly again. Those sort of newsroom practice that young journalists will fear. I mean, I went through that and I got feared by Joseph Alano, come back here. You've written a useless, stupid story. Write it again, things like that. So I write it. At that time, they'll accept it. And we learn from there. So those are things that our young journalists must feel the pain and write properly. In the end, it's good for us and for the country. The English that we write, we just came out from the university, and some English we write are very fancy, and then our lady here said about simple English that our people can understand. So I feel personally that I have developed very well under the mentorship of many people through the cadetship program. And I strongly recommend that our Media Council and our schools of journalism should find a way about making it as a credit point. I think it's still happening, but to ensure that we go through that system before we get our degree or diploma or master's like that. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Belinda, please. Is Media Council doing anything about it?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Lodona, for that. Media Council seems to have a lot of MOUs still pending, so I think the only thing is capacity and funding. We really want to do a lot with our universities, with our newsrooms, come up with MOUs, but that's been a major setback for us. In the last 12 months, we were able to at least move on financially, which is a good sign for the council due to the support of the editors and the media houses. So we are back to ensuring that we're sustaining ourselves, and that is something that I think President Neville Choi has been very adamant that our independence of the council remains very important. For the last couple of months, our training, our assistance to media houses has been through partnership, like partnership with ABCID, the UN, and other partners who have come forward to also assist us. Cadetship has been one that has been mentioned during editors' meetings. I haven't been through one, but even though my former university lecturer, Patrick Matpob, is here. But what I realized was that the only training that our university students are able to get while they're actually in school is when they have the OJTs in the newsrooms. That is when they're on-the-job training in the newsrooms is when they're able to have a feel of what is happening in their newsrooms, or when they started a job as a junior reporter. That is the only time I see that our journalism students are able to have a taste of what is happening in the newsrooms. I must point out here, Chairman, that yes, as the council appreciates, there are challenges not only with the council, but our university has, challenges as well, and our newsrooms have challenges as well. When it comes to training, we encourage our newsrooms, our editors to ensure that there's budget for each of their newsrooms from the company budget. That is very important. If you're able to run a media organization or a company and you're focused on making sure you're publishing news, you should be able to also budget for training. And that is something that PNGFM newsroom has been able to do consistently, and now Post Courier and National are doing that as well. What is that important for us? It's important because we realize that if you're going to demand a lot from the newsroom, you should also be able to meet the needs of the journalists in those newsrooms. When our journalists graduate from universities and come into our newsrooms, our biggest challenge is that they're not trained in specialized courses. Like off record is I work with the ABC today for Pacific, and I realized that they have specialized rounds, like the science rounds, the business rounds, the health rounds. Those are journalists that are already being able to go through those studies specifically at the university level before they join the newsrooms. Unfortunately for us here, we don't do that. So what happened is this becomes a challenge for the editor. The editor has to identify what the student or what this journalist is good at and been able to follow up. And so when they come inside, they're actually put into rounds. Like, for example, I've been a news director for over 10 years. When a reporter comes into my newsroom, I put them into court rounds. I put this reporter to climate change rounds. I put this reporter to health rounds. And this person did not have any specialized course towards this round. What they do is that I need to make sure that they're following the code of ethics when they're going and covering, and at the same time, I have to fund for their training on the side to improve their reporting on that specific rounds. Like, for example, if Climate Change Office offers an opportunity for my newsroom, or Belinda, we're having a workshop here And we have all the experts here who are talking about mobilization and deforestation. Are you able to send your reporter over? Maybe they can come in and probably ask questions and learn a little. And that's when I send my reporter to those. So it's a very practical thing to do, but these are some of the issues and challenges that our editors need to also try and do. If you're not going to have funding to train for a specific round, you have to have your reporter out there go for stuff. Like, for example, court rounds. Court rounds is a very important round. I've been able to send a court reporter and then train that reporter for probably 2 to 3 years, and that reporter becomes so close to lawyers, that person goes back and studies law and judges. And then I lose someone that's very experienced in my newsroom that now becomes, now with the judiciary. So apart from that, we may be able to offer training to our reporters in our newsrooms, but how are we going to keep them in the newsroom? They are moving out because the greener pastures, there are more opportunities, but from when I started, it is not like before. The pay is better, yes, but what are you doing in the newsroom to keep them in there? There has to be some incentives, and these are incentives we work with our editors to try and achieve. Maybe bonuses every month, maybe some shopping vouchers, maybe a trip as an incentive to a course in Hawaii. Those are the incentives that we're trying to work around, and that's what we try to. Even if, like, for example, the master's course at UPNGR, those are some of the things that the council want our editors to also go, but we can't do that because we need to fund this program. It's not like we just send them there without. We need to have the funding to also enable our editors to go for courses and be able to do that, because the newsroom houses won't do that for them. So the council does feel that this cadet, if it has to be reviewed from when it was useful before, we can be able to do that again for our newsrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Point well noted and well received. Thank you. I think we should round it up by summarizing what we discussed. So you want to contribute last one?
Chairman, just one on the cadetship. NBC welcomes the recommendation, and I think as a member of the Media Council, we work through the Media Council as well. And I think it can be also seen as, we saw the lament from Divine Word and EPNG about the disinterest or the lack of interest from their first years. Maybe going forward, the cadetship could be used as an incentive for the journalists coming through, because that's what NBC will look out for as well. Now we were wanting to, those students that are coming through for the practical at the newsrooms, we want to keep some of them. But if they're coming as part of the cadetship, that's even better. Right now we have a MOU with Unitech, and that's along the same lines, but it's more technical stuff, or engineers. So that's on the engineering field, but we'd welcome any revival of the cadetship program. NBC is supportive of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bigger round of applause to Mr. Corano. He's going to take all the cadetship. Okay, I'll just summarize what and I think Mr. Higgins will be appreciate, because we are sticking to his advice. We have not proposed something out of the blue. We are just doing things within enhancing our current process. The review of program is ongoing between UPNG and Divine Wood. So Divine Wood, we expect at the end of this year, UPNG will just keep track on you, and then you can give us a time frame on when you will be able to complete. And what's the name? Media Council, the data needs to be properly surveyed. You need help to survey data, reach out, and we can find help and give them so they have the TNA to complete their program, review of the program. Masters for working class journalists, that is something that UPNG, Divine Wood, you can work on. To sponsor that program, we'll throw it back to the industry. Media Council, the industry, to find sponsors for that program. So you can have this one. So once you develop the program, then we can find a sponsor for the program. We'll work with the industry together, find a sponsor for the program. I think cadetship program for new graduates, we will we'll continue the discussion with the Media Council and see how we can revive it. It's a work in progress, so we can discuss more. It's part of the recommendation to continue discussion and how we can revive that cadetship program. And NBC MOU with UPNG. This is something that we will track. Okay, I think we meeting some lo side lo you talk lo training for journalists. I think at least we come up with something, some recommendations, some points that we can track on, and we can follow on to make sure that we achieve those ones. Then it will help the training. There's much work to do, but at least these are some of the things that we can work with. All right, now since you mindset people you will topic. It's okay. We have 1 hour to reach 5 o'clock. Yeah, 4:30. So we will talk about, discuss your thoughts. I want your thoughts, your ideas on how we can develop and sustain the fourth estate. How we can develop and sustain development and sustainability of the fourth estate. Fourth estate is one of the pillar of democracy. Pillar of democracy. So there are many subjects, points that we can discuss under. So I'm thinking, let me just throw out, so it's debatable and whether we'll taken on board or not. All these challenges we face, it can be addressed in terms of policy, legislation, and all this. But one of the thought after going through these media inquiries, after listening to your contributions, I'm thinking that why did we say that media is the fourth estate of democracy? It's one of the fourth pillar of democracy. Is it based on constitution? Is it based on some sort of policy, or is it based on convention or anything? Why is it we call media based on democracy? Because Australia and New Zealand and America say that media is the fourth estate, and we are saying here in PNG is the fourth estate. That is a question that I want us to provide answers on, or say your thoughts on. You can do research. I try to do research, but the research is like it's the fourth estate media. So, lo constitution lo PNG you mean that recognize as media is the fourth estate, or why did we say that media is the fourth estate or fourth pillar of democracy? Please, you journalists from the audience and from the panel, if you can say your thoughts on why we say media is the fourth estate, and why, if it is, can we strengthen it, or can we make it official, or what's your thoughts on this? Mr. Oladona, please.
Chairman, from my knowledge, and I think many of us here our knowledge, it's not by law. I think it's by convention from the media from those days before. I think it's because of the word democracy. That's why they say media freedom is part of the important what for democracy. So that's, I think, if I can talk on behalf of all of us here, I think that's by convention. There is nothing in writing, there is nothing in law, there is nothing in policy, as far as I know, that talks, that states that media is the fourth estate. Yeah. But within ourselves, because of our work and that ideology that we are part of the democracy, That's why we tend to understand that we are the fourth estate and we will fight for it. It's basically on our freedom to talk, free speech, our freedom to write and express. I think the world bodies, UN, all the donor nations respect that if we breach that democracy factor, it does affect our funding also. Our grants to the country, for example, they put freedom of media as a critical tool for granting funds to, say, Papua New Guinea. So if we have we impinge on freedom of media, then it does affect funding from donor nations. I've been in certain government meetings and I hear those. So as far as I'm concerned, as former PINA president, as somebody who has attended international forums on media and journalism and communications, there is really nothing in writing about the fourth estate. But as journalists, we see ourselves, maybe it's a colonial thing, if I may say, that we are told as we are fourth estate and we continue to maintain that we are the fourth estate. It's part of this democracy that we all struggle to fight for. Sometimes whether it's good, sometimes it's not good. Too much freedom. So I wonder if democracy is sometimes good also. You know, things like that. So that's, I believe, is the background of why we are the fourth democracy. My thinking of this is, if we are to legislate on this, and I've said it coming to the other way, that we legislate to protect journalists. We legislate to ensure that our profession is properly guided, properly protected. And I set a good example when they remove all the MTV journalists, when they remove me personally, when they remove many other journalists, we can sing and shout, but there's no law to protect us. So bosses at Telecom can sack the MTV journalists as they please for political interest. So I feel that to protect the fourth estate is to do this. All we are discussing for protection, for remuneration, for qualification, for standards, for ethics, is to protect it by law. So nobody can come and do anything they please to remove journalists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elodana. Kate, you want to say something?
Yes, I've consulted Google, which means consulting AI, about the fourth estate. And it says, as we all know, the media, it recognises the media has a crucial role in democratic societies, acting as a watchdog, informing the public and holding the government and other powerful entities to account. And where the term comes from, I think you used the term colonial, and it is indeed 18th century Europe. The three estates of the realm were first the clergy, the church, second the nobility, which people would argue these days, and third the commoners. And then the media was the fourth estate, and it said that its roles involve the key duties of holding power accountable, informing the public, facilitating public discourse, and investigating wrongdoing. And that modern challenges to the fourth estate are digital disruption, which we've talked about a lot here in the last couple of days, erosion of trust, economic pressures, and political polarisation. So that's it from AI.
Good, thank you. Anyone else you want to expound on that, give your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I think as a practicing journalist, the fourth estate definitely isn't enshrined in our constitution, but it has been said since we were at university level. You've heard about it. You probably didn't really understand what it meant until you enter a newsroom and been working, and as Mr. Matpop has said, writing and writing and writing, and you finally get to know what it means. So it's definitely from just the practical level is when the public doesn't trust the three arms of government anymore, who do they turn to? Like, for example, they turn to Belinda Cora, who is working for the ABC, definitely knows what I want, definitely will write towards the needs, definitely will hold people accountable for the funds that are supposed to build my bridge, classroom, water supply. So the trust they have in me is an influence already. I have an influence on democracy itself. I'm not saying I do right now, no, I'm giving a practical example that the trust they have in me in this ensuring that our Prime Minister is told to account is the fourth estate making it even more powerful. That's basically how I see us as journalists, practicing journalists. If they lose trust in the executive, the judiciary, legislative, they turn to the fourth estate. And that's how our demand over the years has really risen. And we've also faced challenges like social media. Social media where people don't understand what's the difference between mainstream and social media. We also have things like, should I trust Belinda Cora as a journalist? So the trust and the distrust has definitely affected the fourth estate over the years. That's how it is. So we need to hold ourselves accountable too. Thank you.
Chairman, I think it's getting late in the afternoon. My thinking is getting a bit blurred. I think, Chairman, sorry if I may have read you wrongly. I think Chairman's query could be extended to the discussions we're having right now. We can talk about the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And we get the judiciary to be funded by government as well. And I think for the media, we hold our freedom of expression, our independence very dearly. But there are some practical realities that are with us. So, Chairman, if I can propose that Media Council takes the lead on this one, we have further discussions on how it's more, I think, thinking towards institutionalizing the fourth estate and how we can, not necessarily from government alone, but we can attract funding and other resources from other stakeholders in society to promote our work as well. So I would think that if it's in that manner, then we should, through the Media Council, have further discussions on this and how we can promote the thinking and where it can go. So that's my take on it, Chairman.
Thank you. I think that's a good direction. I think this is a subject that we want to be, media is supposed to be self-regulating, but we are struggling to self-regulate, and at the same time we also need support, and some of the things to make especially improve the standard and nitty-gritty of journalism requires some legislation to be changed, some legislative changes to happen, So that will also improve standard and integrity of journalism. Access to information is the main one. That's the main foundation one, because access to information and also to person. Someone just mentioned, not only to information, but to the person who is responsible for that information also. So when journalism don't have access to information and to the person responsible for that information, they don't report according to standard, and it affects the integrity of journalism. So the question of how to get, how to, promote to protect the independence of media, journalism or media, and to make it self-regulating at the same time. So if we legislate something, then now it's like it's being regulated. But then we need it to be some part of media need to be legislated to promote integrity and improve standards. So this is the like Mr. Elodana has mentioned about how to protect journalism, especially independence of the journalist in the newsroom. They need protection, and then we need to be self-regulating too. So these arguments, this discussion, we need to further discuss. Maybe a mediatic council should take it further, have a public discourse on this. And also media council needs to be independent also. And that's the other part too. So if one member of the media council is doing all the sponsorship and doing all the funding, and we are getting some funding from one source of donor and donor agency and all this, then independence of the media council is also in question now. So this is discussion that as senior journalists we have to meet and talk about how we can the president of media council also proposed laws, one of the legislation that we can throw down, which we'll look into, and also Mr. Aladana, EO for the minister, also proposed some legislation, and the ICT industry, ICT department has created the media development policy. Those are the policies and changes that is happening, and that is being discussed also. That will also affect the media and the fourth estate. So we'll leave it to the media council to discuss how we can develop further the fourth estate and sustain it to be self-regulating and independent. That's I think me can throw him back or something. It's a discussion that as an industry we keep on talking about it, and until we reach some recommendations, some things, then we can further discuss on this. I think then that should bring us to the end of the inquiry into the standard and integrity of journalism in Papua New Guinea. Thank you everyone for your participation. Thank you. As usual, have you finished all inquiry? Someone who want to say a word of prayer? I think Emily or anybody from university, Divine Ward or UPNG would want to say a word of prayer, and let's close up, because we have recommendation. We need support to go through the parliament, and PNG is a Christian country recognized under the constitution. So we close it with a word of prayer. So, sorry, he wants to say something.
It's not a big thing, but I just want to thank you, all of you, with a wealth of experience in the room. Both of us may not have come from a media background, but having said and learned from what's been discussed here, we're so blessed to have your presence here. I want to say that those of you educating journalists, one thing I want to say is that let's not shoot the messengers down. That's my just a short comment. we must not shoot the messengers, whether it be good or bad. Let the messengers do their job. Thank you. And we want to thank UNDP representatives are not in the room, but for funding this workshop and bringing all the participants from all over the country to be discussing in this state function room. Thank you so much, Chairman, through you.
Okay, sorry, before you want to say something? Okay. Please give the mic to her.
Thank you, Chairman and Deputy Chair. Just very quickly, for those that don't know, I'm Kathleen Eramasi. I'm a broadcaster, and I stand here and represent my first cousins, the late Mark Sapias and Ann Sapias, standing here, to just add to what is being discussed. I've been listening and observing over the last 3 days. We talked about mainstream from the newsrooms. We've talked about social media, but we have not spoken about the broadcasters who are equally in the front line, commentating at special events. And we also, in the early days, I'm NBC FM 100, NTN originally, later MTV background. In the early days, Law Radio, Miplets, Aridim News. So you can probably hear from, there's just a few things I'd want to just mention. Training, the early days was different. I'm not sure what is being done nowadays, but Anne and I share the same sentiments. Some things that are crucial to how it applies to law on newsroom line also applies to us. Kamnol station where also run a program. We interview more special guests. Sometimes maybe prominent people, not just from the corporate sector, but also government leaders. Research is very important. This is an industry where you continue to learn. You make it your business, whether you come out law school or NOGAT. Everyone will agree with me. You must continue to research. You must know your topic. You must know your individual guest's background before we come now sit down as the interviewer. Sampler all topics, and this for everyone else to just consider. We have this a concern all the time. It's an ongoing topic that comes up regularly. See the maturity of someone you elect to go and interview. Somebody say, one of our founding fathers, we were part of, Anne and I were part of a DFAT funded program earlier this year, Road to Independence, where we also enjoyed after a long time to be interviewing, some people that were part of the Road to Independence. And there were other efforts also funded by DFAT, showing this a long history working relationship between Australia and Papua New Guinea. And predominantly I'm from East New Britain, but I have obviously New Ireland blood as well. But the Matangan Association example, I want to just bring forward here to I'm strong in what I'm trying to bring across about the maturity or level of understanding of someone that a broadcaster is then, elected to interview someone that was part of the Road to Independence, fight for independence. Matangan Association in Rabaul were very, very vocal. Many would say that we pushed. We were the ones that really pushed for our country to become independent. And to be privileged and so honored to interview someone like Sir John Caputin. And I'm not only saying this for the standard or Isla kind, you must also consider broadcasters here, because they can not only make themselves look stupid, but they can also
tarnish the reputation of the organizations that they represent. When you ask, before time, my father is a pioneer broadcaster, and to this day I still keep a copy of the ABC Broadcasters Manual, where part of interviewing skills is part of that manual. I don't know about nowadays. The line of interviewing, your questions, very, very important. You know, Sabe, what Sir John Caputin's very vocal involvement in Rabaul to push for our independence, and you ask a stupid question and ask him if he was present on that day in 1975 on that hill. This is an example, me like put him. Part of this lacainal training must be there for them. Anne and I are retired. We are very happy to also assist. Line of questioning, very important. Research, very important. And equality of voice. Narapla, something I have been doing for 20 odd years is translation. Translation work, don't forget, you may got triple official languages. And there's been a lot of breakdown over the years, lot of pisin. And I believe Motutu also lost it a little bit. Anyone can speak, not everybody, but nowadays, yes, more. Southern region generally were not pidgin speakers, but in society now, in the schoolyard, in the office places, you hear Tokpisin is being used a lot. So sometimes you can think in one language, no by your right law, in English now by Kensa for Paila Namel. So we gotta help them with that. The rest of us are here to also assist. Why? Because we love the industry and the power of radio. You never, ever, ever gonna discount with the geographical setup of our country. Also, still very high illiteracy rate. But I'd like to add, don't take for granted your audience the intelligence. You walk around Lord Settlement or Boy Market, you hear that people, whether they write or not, or read or not, is beside the point, but they do understand. So important to keep it simple for them to understand you. But you'll be surprised how vocal they are, from politics to business to what, all got all opinion blown. I think that's about it from me. And I'm willing to also do the closing prayer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please. Now you can hold the mic and say that. But before you say the closing prayer, let me say a few words first. Thank you. I think when we say journalists, we also cover broadcasters and photographers and video camera and writers. So don't feel left out if you are a broadcaster. So when you me talk lo, when something you talk to lo journalism, it covers you all get the actual journalists and also photographers, video, cameramen, translators, broadcast, everything. Okay, finally, you should acknowledge him online from Region Solkham. Our million be two million be fighting big land lol. They come and contribute. Okay, Narpla lo Jiwaka fighting big land lo Joka Putan big one up. Okay, Tripla lo Madang. Come to Sola. Yeah, all at least I think for this inquiry, I don't know about other committees or inquiries. But for these inquiries, we at least brought people from regions into Port Moresby, and what the questions they have in Port Moresby, they have delivered. I mean, we asked the questions, and a couple of wins before we even make recommendation to the Parliament. We actually made some wins in this inquiry. I think number one win is, I think especially for NBC, I think most wins are coming from NBC and because of the MD is here. Thank you. Pai the big land MD play me. I think first win was US supposed to send an MOU with NBC and UPLG. The committee wants to take credit for that. We will forcefully take credit. If the MOU signs, then we take credit. We saw it and we raised it, and we are trying to look for money, but NBC stepped in, and that's good. I think stepped in long time ago, but we came in and we take credit for it. If the MOU is signed with UPNG, then the studio improvement happening in UPNG, then that's a win for this committee, because we went and saw the state it is, and now it is. But we will pursue and ensure that the MOU signed. I think the second win for this committee of inquiry is Jiwaka and Ella province. Next year we'll be able to have staffing for NBC. Yeah. So for 13 years they've been operating without, they've been created and operating. They have nice office space, studio, and all this one. So if you're looking for journalists to send somewhere, I think Jiwaka have space for them. We went and we found out from Jiwaka inquiry, based on Jiwaka, we found out that they need staffing, and they've been borrowing staff from Kundiawa and from Again. So I messaged the secretary for personal management, and she's able to create those positions. That has been ongoing for some time, but after this inquiry, we're able to create that position. So that's a big plus for Jiwaka and Ella. And for Meding, yes, I think you have moved consul or some transmitter to Meding. So NBC Meding should have, that's another win again for Meding. Paiti man lo madanga all sim. Okay, for Alatao, you came and you listened to that promise, and he said that he will do it by end of this year. This 10 kilometer or kilowatts. Kilowatt. That one will be there. Okay, one request for NBC, please. When you put this one, this transmitter blow radio eating now or put him boombox na FM tas also. We want AM2. So can you also talk with the industry like customs or China line or store line or Salimol radio or Masalimol is the radio too. FM AM2. For that can work on your transmission. Oh, that one. Oh, this is the standard. Okay, sorry, we forgot an event, but we'll follow up on it. Milan Bay, the committee will follow up on it and make sure that when you have this, the radio will also be available for you guys. This is a special case because they're from the disaster zone area. Islands, plenty disaster, wind, cyclone, big wave, tsunami, kind of stuff. So they really need that service. So I think this committee, when it's doing its inquiry, found out, and we came talk with the NBC, and now they're able to help. So that's a plus for this committee. Yeah. And also we're able to bring all these top agencies, DICT and NICTA and Cybercrime Police and Censorship Office. They are all working in one space now, and we are happy to know that they form a directorate. So that means that we need them to work together to address the new media and social media and digital media. So now at least we hear from the discussion that they have made an NEC submission, and they have created a entity or some directorate that will address this. So that's a win for this committee also. So thank you. So at least before the recommendation went to the Parliament, we achieved some win. We achieved some win already. So that's a good thing for the committee and for those who are participating, especially the journalists, senior journalists, and media personnel, all the agencies. We have participated for this. We have participated and contributed to this inquiry. We say big thank you. Big thank you through on behalf of my committee members. Thank you, and on behalf of the Parliament Secretary too. We say thank you. And special thank you. We would not have completed this inquiry if UNDP have not stepped in. UNDP have stepped in, and we have managed to complete this inquiry, and we are so proud and happy to have that relationship with UNDP through the Parliament. Thank you. Nothing Emolgera na Yumilusum Lan Blubikla now. Please, my sister, can you say a word of prayer and send us away?
A big good girl, that's another friend. Oh, you mean get us
Yeah, let us all stand.
Yeah. Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the time, for those that have come to attend, Father. Thank you for the discussions and the opinions or thoughts that have been shared. And we pray for your wisdom and understanding, your favor and blessings as a way forward to come up with more concrete solutions and continue to promote in our own individual ways the standard and quality within the industry. Thank you, awesome Father. As we are about to depart, we pray for your traveling mercies as we leave this place. And thank you for all those efforts, even those that are not here or behind the scenes, to have made this possible. In Jesus' name, grateful hearts will agree and say, Amen. Thank you.